So-called elemental cities, also known as watchtowers, represent one of the key phenomena of the intermediary space, or interworld. These cities are unique subspaces that form as a result of the perception and structuring of individual aspects of existence, such as activity, inertia, or mobility. These cities, which exist as subspaces of condensed reality, serve as important islands of stability within the unstable and mutable realm of the interworld. The experience of conscious out-of-body perception, scrying, as accumulated in magical traditions, shows that there are many such cities, but 4 are accessible to us: Phineas, Murius, Gorius, and Phalias. Each of these cities is associated with a particular element forming the foundation of our world system. The so-called interworld itself is a conditional category that encompasses a variety of spaces structured not by the substances of reality, but by its qualities. Elemental cities represent such cross-sections of reality, where the entire world manifests through a single defining property, expressed as one of the primordial elements, primary qualities of matter: fire, air, water, or earth. The first coherent descriptions of these spaces came from the Celts, who spoke of 4 great cities, each corresponding to an element and having its ruler and druid. These ideas were later developed by Paracelsus in his works, asserting that elementals, nymphs, sylphs, gnomes, and salamanders constitute an essential part of creation. During the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, their existence was also reflected in texts such as Theurgia Goetia and Ars Almadel from the Lemegeton, as well as in John Dee's diaries. However, in Dee's original writings, there was no mention of the correlation between the squares of the tablets and the elements. This connection was established by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. For instance, Ars Almadel, also known as the Art of Almadel, represents the 4th book of the Lemegeton, a classic grimoire describing methods of contacting the so-called spirits of the heights, potentates dwelling in the 4 corners of the cosmos. The name originates from the Arabic word al-mandal, meaning circle or disc, and is associated with the central magical tool, the invocation table, or almadel. This tool is used to summon spirits considered to occupy a more exalted position compared to the spirits of the Theurgia Goetia. The spirits of the almadel are described as inhabitants of the chorus, a term used in antiquity to denote agricultural lands beyond the city-states. In the magical context, this refers to their residence in the peripheral regions of the intermediary. These spirits are divided into 4 groups, 1 for each high chorus, and they can be summoned for benevolent purposes. The texts mention 20 spirits, 5 per chorus. The names of these spirits often resemble the names of planetary archangels, which may indicate the influence of various sources on the composition of the text. Many elements and names found in the Almadel overlap with invocations from other magical texts, such as the Key of Solomon. Thus, the Almadel serves as a significant tool for studying the spiritual entities of the interworld, complementing the urgical traditions with a system of interaction with sub-celestial spirits. These angels can be viewed as epiclethers of an intermediate level, positioned between wandering spirits and gatekeepers, so-called goetic demons, making them an important link in understanding the nature of elemental and transcendental forces in magical and spiritual practices. Despite numerous mentions, a comprehensive understanding of the structure and relationships of the elemental cities has not been fully developed. Many astrological, Kabbalistic, and theosophical correspondences of the watchtowers are insufficiently supported by systematic research. Most of the information comes from Enochian tablets, which by their nature resemble a programmatic code that manifests differently depending on perception. Other data arises from visionary insights and dreams, often inaccurate due to the subjectivity of interpretation. Finally, the most serious information is obtained through experienced magical practices of exteriorization, scrying, employed by magicians experienced in interacting with the intermediary and elemental magic. This practice was actively used in the Order of the Golden Dawn, where they performed the opening of the Watchtower ritual, which was utilized for cleansing space and summoning the guardians of the four cardinal directions. This ritual involved the use of magical implements representing the elements to summon angels of the corresponding quarters. In general, the exploration of the Watchtowers is an important task in mapping the spaces of the intermediary. It is crucial not only for understanding the interactions that occur in visions and dreams, but also for constructing posthumous routes through the interworld. Unfortunately, since the times of ancient Egypt, there have been no systematic attempts at such mapping within the Western tradition. According to the accumulated data, the so-called elements are subspaces that arise from the perception of only one key property of the world, such as activity, inertia, or mobility, while excluding all other qualities. They represent one of the most well-known sections or domains of the intermediary space. It is essential to understand that the primordial elements are not substances, but rather properties of reality. Thus, one can speak of the world of fire, world of air, world of earth, or world of water, implying that all structures within these worlds share the same quality. In each element, all materiality is homogeneous and devoid of the properties of other elements. These elements endow the space of their respective domain, or city, with specific characteristics: horizontal mobility, vertical mobility, plasticity, or inertia. At the same time, each element is also formed and animated by corresponding forms of consciousness: sylphs, air, salamanders, fire, undines, water, and gnomes, earth. This structured and ordered element thus constitutes the foundation of a quasi-universe in the interworld, a so-called elemental city. The materiality of each city also has four aspects, although it is often mistakenly associated with the presence of other elements within a single one, e.g., fire of fire, air of fire, etc. However, it is only accurate to say that each element manifests its own version of a tetragrammatic structure without including the qualities of other elements. For instance, Phineus is the world of fire, characterized by its vertical mobility and energy, while Murius is the world of water, filled with plasticity and fluidity. Gorius and Phalius correspond to air and earth respectively, representing realms governed by motion or inertia. Experience has also shown that the cities or towers have complex structures, and their inhabitants include gods, servitor forces, angels and gatekeepers, elementals, and their related beings, fairies, elementaries, and elementers. The god of each element represents its governing essence. Elementals form the body of the element, and all external connections are maintained by servitor spirits, primarily grey epiclethes. These latter beings, alongside Fomorians, Hrimthursar, one of the oldest groups of entities, most commonly manifest as the so-called Enochian spirits, as well as the princes and angels of the Theurgia Getia. A significant portion of information about the structure of the towers comes from interactions with such spirits, which, of course, are not always reliable. Each city represents an individual world or quasi-universe, with dimensions that are indeterminate, yet analogous to the spaces of physical reality. The space of each city is homogeneous, allowing for instantaneous movement without obstacles or resistance. Since the interworld has a hexagonal structure, the space of each city can be imagined as an octahedron, where maximum stability is concentrated on the inner plane and decreases toward the poles. Each city possesses various characteristics, such as potential differences, vertical polarity, plasticity, and mobility. For example, in Gorias, we observe differences in pressure driving the air, its ability to diffuse, its mobility, and viscosity. Correspondingly, it is governed by the four winds: Notus, Zephyrus, Eurus, and Boreas. In the quarters of these winds live not only elementals, but also tetragrammatic beings, so-called cherubic spirits, one of the groups of epiclethes described both in John Dee's visions and in grimoire literature. Elemental cities are structured into sectors where the forces of the corresponding elements are concentrated. These sectors are governed by servitor spirits, epiclethers and angels. Epiclethers play a crucial role in maintaining connections between the elements and external worlds. Above and below the elemental foundation of the city lie choruses, inhabited by epiclethes and spirits, among whom the Grigori and Elementaries stand out. These choruses are divided into benevolent and malevolent, mirroring each other. At the peaks of the octahedron of each city resides a tetrad of governing entities, the god of the element, an archon, a ref, and an angel, with a demon below, representing the corresponding tetragrammatic principles of the element. Each city is crowned by an aeonic force, the elemental logos, which serves as the system-forming nucleus of the space. Since these cities lack resistance to movement, their exploration is invaluable not only for metageography, but also for understanding the principles of forming the intermediary spaces. These cities represent pure systems whose rules apply to the mixed spaces of our world. Future research may help create detailed maps of these spaces, which is particularly crucial for posthumous journeys. Already, it is vital to understand that these elemental cities are not just magical concepts, but real spaces that can and should be explored through deep magical practices. Systematic study of such spaces could aid in mapping the interworld and play a key role in forming posthumous routes, allowing disembodied beings to navigate their journey through the interworld with success and minimal losses. Thus, the elemental cities form an essential part of the structure of the interworld. They are places of power, intersections of realities, and their study may provide the key to understanding the profound laws of existence. Interaction with their inhabitants, elementals, angels, and epicleths, can open new horizons in the magical arts and enable the researcher to gain deeper insights into the laws governing both the material and spiritual realms.